Just because you're busting budgets doesn't mean you can't find a good deal. Let's talk about it in Below the Belt, which is sponsored by Academy Sports and Outdoors and Window Nation. We will be heading off to Indy. I'll be heading off to Indy right after the show today. And then tomorrow, Shan and RJ will be out there. Brian Broaddus is going to be there. It's going to be a great week in Indianapolis covering the comment. I'm so excited. I'm literally, I'm a little, yesterday I was telling Kristen, I was like.
You have to temper it a little bit when you're around your wife.
Well, she just doesn't get it.
Well, she just views it as you're leaving us. Why are you so giddy? You could be doing backflips.
No, back in the day. Now she's just like, great, I get to do what I want all week. That's how she.
Not what she was telling my wife.
Oh, that's sweet that she's projecting something.
Yeah, right. Yeah. She's projecting all right.
All right. Let's.
She's like, isn't it fantastic and great that they're leaving us again?
We'll catch up on that during the break. All right. Let's take a look at NFL.com. They took a look at trying to identify 4 players who heading into free agency very well may end up being overvalued by the market. And then they tried to take a look at who are 4 players that could be undervalued by the market. And the undervalues were interesting to me because they highlighted something specific with the Cowboys, which we'll get to in just a second. But the whole point of this article was they said, you've got to find, and this sucks that you're pointing to this one, given what happened, but they said, you got to find the DeMarcus Lawrences of the world. The guy who's kind of a down-on-his-luck player, who the Seahawks said, you know what, we're still going to be able to get something out of him, and then they end up getting all the value out of it, and he turns out to be a big-time contributor. So they're trying to find those players that could be those big-time boom contributors and the ones who you need to stay away from. Here are the ones they said you should stay away from, which we'll just hit on really quickly here, just because the interest of their names. Number 1, and I agree this one's going to be dicey, and I think people are already starting to buy in, Malik Willis. There seems to be a Malik Willis hype train building right now for, hey, he could be something. He's been sitting this whole time, but that was a talented guy. That was somebody that we all thought was going to go in the first round a few years ago, and, man, he's looked good in flashes. He very well could be good. I liked him when he was coming out of Liberty. He obviously hasn't played a lot since then, but I would definitely buyer beware on that front.
It's amazing what, again, there was that Charlie Whitehurst era.
God,
Matt
Charlie
Flynn in the National Football League, where you belched as a backup and teams lost their minds over you and signed you.
Yeah.
Charlie was Seattle when he popped. He was with Seattle, right?
I think so. And then, you had that's when the Garoppolo deals get done before you even know who Garoppolo is. People are trading big capital. Who was the guy? Hoyer. Brian Hoyer was another one like that who it seemed like teams were always trading overvalued picks for.
How many touchdowns do you think Malik Willis threw for last year to be getting this height?
4?
3.
I was going to say, I don't even remember how many games he played last year. I remember Love was out for some.
Against Chicago on December 20th, he was 9 of 11 for 121 yards. He ran for 44, had a touchdown, no picks. Then against Baltimore on December 27th, 18 of 21 for 288, a touchdown, no picks, ran for 60. And there's a hype train.
That's what they say. First taste is free. Just give him a little bit. Get him hooked.
Wow.
That's what it is.
Get
him
that
hooked.
road, huh?
That's the whole theory that it felt like the Cowboys misplayed with Trey Lance at times. And that they maybe will end up playing correctly or incorrectly with Joe Milton. It's like, hey, if that's not going to be your guy, find places to strategically just make him look good and create some intrigue in the air of like, oh, what could that guy be? Could I use something with him? That's how it should be done. The 3 other names on this list from NFL.com of people who could be overvalued. Jamel Dean from the Buccaneers, cornerback. We had talked about him a little bit as if he was a cut candidate or if he was to enter free agency. Maybe that's somebody, a veteran that you could look at. David Edwards, the Bills guard, and then Kyle Pitts, the Falcons tight end. Kyle Pitts definitely feels like somebody who people continue to just fall in love with over and over because they're not willing to let go of the Vernon Davis hype that existed when he was first coming out.
And he had a very nice ending to the year. He had games in a row of 82 yards, 90, 166, 57, 58. He had the 3-touchdown game against Tampa Bay, and they're like, yeah, that's what we scouted. Any way to make you go back and feel right.
Yeah, if you see it, oh my gosh, there's nothing more dangerous than if you really were just holding on like with hope to some player that you missed 100 and then they just happen to pop at the right time, and then it's like, see, there it is. Just it's waiting. It was a little late,
Ego.
But it's waiting to come out. I can see it already. On the 4 undervalued, there's 2 names in particular that I think should be of interest to the Cowboys. But let me address the other 2 first. First one is Kenneth Gainwell, the Steelers running back, who obviously has been with the Eagles previously. They say that when you look at his success rate and some of the things that he did as a receiving back, he could be a value buy for somebody looking for a running back. And then Leo Chenal from the Chiefs, who is a really good player. I don't know what his value is going to be on the market. When I saw he was a free agent, I was trying to... When we were initially talking about Jim Leonard as a potential candidate here, Leonard coached Chenal at Wisconsin, and so I was trying to figure out, all right, would that be a connection? And everything I saw on him and everything I was studying on him, he's really good. And I don't know why he wouldn't be a top guy on the market other than just some injury history. But the 2 that are on here to round out this list of could be undervalued guys, number 1, somebody I've been waving red flags around, Nakobe Dean. They write, the former third-round pick owns the type of athleticism and playmaking that could get him paid this offseason, but disagree about athleticism. In 4 seasons in Philly, the off-ball linebacker proved he could get after the quarterback with 7.5 sacks and patrol the middle of the field. However, an extensive injury history could curtail his payday. The defender hasn't played a full slate since 2017, missing 21 regular season games over the past 3 seasons alone, and was out for most of Philly's Super Bowl run in 2024. Teams generally shy away from spending big on players with long-term durability questions, which could put Dean on a short-term prove-it path. This is a name that I imagine we're going to hear buzz about because he's considered really smart. He's considered a leader. He understands everything that Christian Parker's probably going to want to come in here and do.
Oh,
and
just like Logan Wilson.
Be able to work. Logan Wilson was clearly, if he had played in Chicago, or I guess if he was best buddies like Kenneth Murray was with Eberflus, it would have made a difference, but didn't turn out that way. And then the other name is a name that we had heard kicked around a little bit at the trade deadline, and it didn't end up coming to fruition, but it's Arnold Ebiketie. And this is somebody who he's Falcons edge rusher. He was a second-round pick out of Penn State in 2022 and has largely, for the most part, during his time in Atlanta, been a little bit of a, we'll flash it to you every now and then, but is never going to reach the full potential. He's got 16.5 sacks, so about 4 sack per season average at this point. But they say the success of rookies Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr. last season buried Ebiketie, but down the depth chart in year 4. But Pierce's recent arrest on 5 felony charges, Rocky Top,
dang,
casts serious doubt on Pierce's future, and it might be prudent for the Falcons to retain him. Although the former second-round pick has generated just 16.5 sacks, he possesses explosiveness off the edge that could thrive under new leadership in Atlanta or new surroundings. That was a guy that Dallas was evaluating as part of their deadline looks at how do we generate pass rush, how do we look at some of these guys. They're also looking at Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, guys like that, guys who we now know are available. So all of this is to say, whenever you've got value buys that you're looking for there, whenever Jerry's talking about busting the budget, when we say what does busting the budget mean, apparently busting the budget means just not being the cheapest free agent spenders in NFL history, pretty much.
The budget.
So
NFL history.
Pretty close to it, it looks like. So Jason Fitzgerald from Over the Cap, he's the one who runs that whole website, and he had a good article up yesterday looking at Eric DeCosta's comments that the Ravens just don't pay attention to free agency. And he was like, all right, well, how true is that? Sometimes GMs say things that they're massaging it or they're trying to gloss over something. So he decided to take a look, and he found, yeah, you know what? The Ravens since 2020, so the last 6 off seasons heading into this year, the Ravens since 2020 have not been super active spenders. They've done some trade stuff, they've drafted well, but they're not generally spending on outside free agents. So he took a look at the entire league, and he was looking at deals that were done in March or April, so the first 2 months of free agency. Anybody signed after the draft is not a top-tier free agent. It doesn't really count as playing in free agency. And he looked at deals that were over, on average, $2 million. So he just removed veteran minimum guys who were just filling out a roster. And he looked at which teams have signed how many players, what their total annual pay rate is, and then what the average per player is. And the amount that the Cowboys have spent is shockingly low. So Dallas across the NFL over the last 6 off seasons is dead last in total APY spending and free agency.
Dang. Over the last how many?
6 off seasons cumulatively. They have spent $54,750,000. They're under $10 million per season off season in free agent spending. And there are only
And this is outside sources, not re-signing your own.
Right, this is outside players, so that you would not count Dak or anybody like that. There are only 4 other teams that are even under $100 million. And that's the Ravens at 74. They're second to last. They're $20 million ahead of you as second to last. The Buccaneers right around 74. The Packers, the Eagles. I will say,
good company.
Yeah,
4 teams that are generally not so bad.
And I went and looked at the same list. So the Cowboys signed 16 players total, right? Mm-hmm. These are the teams that signed fewer than 20. Packers, Ravens, Bucks, Chiefs, Rams, Eagles, Colts, Cowboys, Saints.
Right.
I mean, outside of the Colts and the Saints, I mean, those are all
in theory
really good teams.
Because in theory, you are generally the way you win is
draft.
You do develop cheap talent, and that's how you're going to win games in today's NFL. Now, you've got teams like the Texans, which have spent a sizable amount in free agency over the last 6 years.
They've signed 59 players.
And that's by far the most in the NFL. It's not even close. That's their team that's been in playoff contention each of the last 3 years. You've got the Patriots, who are some of the highest spenders. They just ended up in the Super Bowl. So it can work that way. Seattle spends a decent amount. When you look at average spent per player, so, okay, well, what about if you're just picking and choosing your spots? Because some of the highest spending on average per player, here's the top of the list in the NFL. The Rams are number 1. The Packers are number 2. The Colts are 3. The Chiefs are 4. You're looking at generally good teams there that are spending a lot per player. So they're not spending on dozens of free agents, but when they spend, they fork over money.
Cowboys are doing neither.
Dallas is dead last in average spent per player, too. It's $3.4 million, and that's more than $1 million less than second to last in the NFL, which is the Texans, who sign a bunch of people but do it at modest prices. So if you're talking about busting the budget, if that's what the theory is going to be this year, you better, to me, jump up this ranking this year.
Yeah.
I mean, you should do enough in this.
Even if they re-sign George.
Yes. I think that, in fact, let me look at the total APY. So if you look at the total APY, Dallas is last with $54 million. I would say they need to cumulatively, over the last 7 off seasons, once you include this one, they need to jump the Ravens and the Buccaneers in this one off season to be counted as you busted the budget, to me, which means they would have to outspend the Buccaneers and Ravens by minimum $21 million this offseason.
Yeah, it's tough because, to me, I guess, free agency is where I plug a hole or two. And then the draft is where you build your meat and potatoes of your team.
You gotta spend. Even if it's in pockets, when you spend, they better be real investments and not just trying to
they have gone they have
the dollar DVDs.
They have done the dollar DVDs, and you're right. I mean, teams like the Rams, even the Eagles are spending on average per player $6.5 million. That's still double the Cowboys, almost double.
Below the belt.